So what I'm going to do is offer an introduction to friends and family canvassing. And I should warn you now, I am on the West Coast. I'm in Berkeley. If I seem a little discombobulated, that's why. I haven't even had my morning coffee yet. So what is friends and family canvassing and how can we distinguish it from other things? I'm going to cover 4 different questions that probably come up for you, which is, what is it? Why is it better than other forms of canvassing? How do you get started? And how do you prioritize your efforts? So a lot of you are probably familiar with the candidacy of Pete Buttigieg. He was kind of close to Michigan, originating in Indiana. He was a 36-year-old small town mayor who, when he announced his candidacy initially, nobody thought he had a chance. He had 0 name recognition and also was married to a same-sex partner. And yet, despite all of those challenges, Pete Buttigieg, as we know, emerged from the Iowa caucus in first place. So the question is, how was he able to do that? And Pete Buttigieg did it with organized outreach to family, friends, neighbors, and colleagues. He did not rely on stranger to stranger contacts. He did essentially friends and family canvassing. The average person has about 150 stable relationships, people they know by first name and encounter consistently in over time. It isn't just a single interaction, it is a relationship with a person that they know will continue into the future. Now, friends and family canvassing is better than what we usually do for several reasons. And I think the easiest way to kind of see this exemplified is to actually look at some examples of what it looks like when we do some of the different types of canvassing that are out there. But before I get to the examples, just keep in mind that friends and family canvassing has the advantage that we are contacting people who already know us, already like us, and already trust us. In other forms of canvassing and voter contact, you're reaching out to strangers, and that creates a tremendous barrier to political influence. So I want you to begin by meeting John. John is a traditional phone banker. He does that thing we did the word cloud about. Every day he's committed to making calls in swing districts. He does one shift of about 3 hours. In that time, he actually gets through to about 30 people who pick up the phone. A lot of them still hang up on him or say mean things once they realize that he is making a political call, but he does speak to 30 people. After 3 hours of phone banking, John has usually on average turned out about 1 additional vote per shift for 3 hours of work. Now, afterwards, John goes home and he is exhausted. It is hard work. It is grueling work. And it's often discouraging work. You don't get a lot of positive feedback when you're calling voters, particularly when you're phone banking with a set purpose of getting through as many calls as possible, because you know it's only by maximizing the volume of calls that you are going to hit that one person who is going to turn out because you reached them. Now, I want you to meet Jen. Jen does phone banking as well, but she does a type of phone banking known as deep canvassing. And this is actually very new on the political scene and is changing the game dramatically. She also makes calls just like John for about 3 hours a day. But the difference between her and John is that when she's calling, she only contacts a handful of people. She gets on the phone long and talks with people long enough to form a real relationship. She spends most of the time on the phone listening to what they have to say, not reading them a script, not telling them what they should believe, but connecting and providing a compassionate connection. The difference, one of the big differences between Jen and John is that no matter who she talks to, whether it's someone on the far right of the political spectrum, the far left of the political spectrum, she has an impact on the way they are thinking and behaving. When they get off the phone, they have been changed. Now, does that mean they've converted or are necessarily doing what Jen has proposed? No, but they are feeling more positive about the nation, the future of the country, and about politics in general than they were before.
So Karen, I want to ask a question.
Yeah.
About that. So are people typically channeled towards voters that are likely in a certain way, like just like that is heavily done in the traditional canvassing, but in the deep canvassing?
In deep canvassing, they just take anybody off the voter rolls. They do not, not only do they not, they're trying to find people who are unlikely voters, and they do not distinguish between people on right and left. You could end up talking with a Trump supporter, you could end up talking with a Biden supporter, you could end up talking with a third party voter. You never know what you're gonna get. So after making calls, Jen is also tired, but she tends to feel better about what she's done. She does feel like she's made a difference, and so that is usually enough to keep her going. So the last person I want you to meet is Jess. Jess does friends and family canvassing, which is what David and I are proposing. Every day she takes some time to reach out to 3 people she knows. And during that time, she successfully contacts 3 people, whether it is via telephone or email or text. And she has the advantage of not simply sharing, like having some kind of political influence, but she also has the opportunity to build her relationships with friends and family. She can catch up on what's going on in people's lives. She can just enjoy being with people.
She could even have some
she
champagne,
loves
apparently.
And cares about. I'm sorry, David?
She could even have some champagne, apparently.
And she can drink champagne.
She enjoys her little alcohol there. That's nice.
She's having a good time. Yeah. So when Jess finishes, she, unlike the others, has a much better, she comes out of it feeling a lot better, because for her, it hasn't just been about having a political impact. It has really been about being connected to people she cares about. And she doesn't have that feeling of deep discouragement or fatigue. If anything, she feels energized and hopeful.